Hello everybody and welcome to tonight's episode of Mapping It Out. My name is Guy and it's a bumper episode since we haven't been around for quite some time, so it feels. Anyway, hopefully all the audio is coming through loud and clear. It's so nice to see you all here in chat already watching. And we hear you about that opening music. We'll definitely give it a listen to and perhaps try and find something to replace it with. I know we have heard it 30, 40 times or so, how many episodes there have been of mapping it out. Anyway, we will look into it. Now, tonight we're talking about 1.8 million assets. 1.8 million assets. Think about that number for a little bit. That is a huge, huge, huge number. And that's the one thing we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about a lot of things tonight. The other thing that we're going to be talking about is Community Hub. That's an exciting development there. And then 6K resolution. Why would you want to export a map that's 15,000 pixels long? I'm throwing out all these big numbers because they impress the hell out of me, and I hope they're going to impress the hell out of you. It really is impressive numbers that we're going to be talking about tonight in our update. So for those of you that are new to the show, we talk about the Battlemap editor, which has been going now for a while. We look at some behind the scenes there. Lots of interesting developments happening in the Battlemap editor this month. And then we move on to talking about Project DEIOS towards the end of the show, and some very interesting stuff there. We've got a bit of a demo for you as well. So lots to get into. I am joined as usual by the CEO of DungeonFog, but just before we go to him, just a reminder, please, that if you are going to ask questions, and we encourage you to ask questions, please ask questions, put the word question in caps in front of it so that I can see the words, see the question, I should say, and then I can get to ask them to Till, and hopefully I'll get it. Now, if you have asked a question and chat's kind of scrolled up and moved on, and I haven't yet got to it, don't feel embarrassed. Ask it again. Rather, let's hear your question rather than anything else. So let's bring in Till. Till, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. I'm quite impressed by your devious introduction with the 1.8 million assets, and I was like, what? Oh, right, I remember.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we're going to be talking about those 1.8 million. That's a staggering number. I think that's an absolutely insane number. So, Till, there's been a lot kind of going on in and around DungeonFog Studios, both for Battle Maps and for DEIOS. And yeah, we're going to start with Battle Maps. Before we kind of jump into it, what are your thoughts on how far we have come thus far? June is the 6th month. We're halfway through the year almost. How's it been going for you?
It's a completely new, well, it's not a new experience, but it is kind of solidifying the experience I had for the past, let's say, well, since we launched DungeonFog, where time is like in a movie or like in a film where it completely messes with you. There are some months that go by in a day, and then there are, for example, the past 2 days that feel like a month, because it's like, oh my God, I think I've aged about 10 years in the past 2 days. But yeah, it's incredible that we are already in June. It's terrifying as always, because that means kind of the year's already over. And still, I think, especially when we look at DEIOS and what we're going to show you today, I feel like this is such a major milestone that we have reached, that I feel that all the hard work and all the effort that we put into is kind of now rewarding, playing back to us, which is quite amazing. And same with DungeonFog. It's quite a ride, quite a journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely quite a journey. Now, just in case any of you watching are going to be at UK Games Expo this coming weekend, both Till and I will be there running around the convention for the whole weekend. We would love to meet you to swap some map making tales. So if you see us there, please come up and give us a shout. We are always happy to talk to folks. I'll be giving some talks in the afternoons mainly, but we'll be around during the day anyway, because, well, it's UK Games Expo. Let's jump into battle maps. And Till, if you recall, you have to do the sound effects for this one. Now, those of you who were listening to the music at the beginning and saying, can we have new music?
Yeah, I wanted to offer. Should I sing the next track?
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go. You ready for it?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Well, there you go. Right, you asked for it, you got new music. That's fantastic. We are talking battle maps, and yes, it's going to be an interesting one. Now, I have seen some very important questions that have come up in chat already. We will answer that, Nicholas Kopp, I should say. We will answer that question, as it's definitely a good one. Till, let's see, where are we on the updates?
Yes, exactly.
Right. So goals.
This is basically just quickly reviewing what we had. We had set ourselves goals for this year, and we want to, with every mapping it out, we revisit those goals and see what did we achieve, what did we not achieve, where are we, so that you can get a better understanding of what's coming up or what is planned, and also to keep us in check to see where we actually are. Keep in mind, we've renamed the whole thing from roadmap to goals, because with the previous years, we've learned that whatever we put on our roadmap, if it is kind of a scheduled thing, it never happens as we like it to happen, because we run into things that need to more fixing or more improving. So this is a rough sketch out of what is planned here in the DungeonFog studios and where are we in terms of that. So for Q1, we plan to release the new paths tool. Check. I've seen amazing maps that are already using the paths. I just released new paths today with the new map pack. We're going to talk about that in a minute. The marketplace is growing quite nicely, and we see a lot of good feedback on the Patreon integration. Now, before we move our marketplace out of the beta status that it's currently in, we will, however, need to update something that is upcoming, and that is the new asset picker. And once that is done, then we will actually switch the marketplace to, well, it's basically, it loses its beta flag, and we'll get its proper promotion, because currently we're just promoting it to you through our streams, but we're not putting the big words out there that there is a full marketplace of, by now, probably a few, well, thousands, I don't know the number, to be honest, of assets that are available in the marketplace as well. And last for Q1 was planned the community hub. Well, we are in Q2 now, but still we have checked it off. So the community hub is done. So from all the goals that we set for Q1, we are now done. We have them. And we are now in the next step, which is planned for Q2 to the end of the year. And that is the advanced paths. Well, we luckily already ticked off, I would say 90% of the advanced boxes with our first path release. And with the feedback we got, we know a few things that need improvement, but it's mostly done and we're happy with it. The new asset picker is in the works. However, that beast got a lot more complicated than we anticipated. So we've split it up in what we're calling an MVP release, so the minimal viable product release that is on the brink of being finished. However, there still needs to be a lot of testing. So I hope somewhere in June or July, we will actually be able to give you the first impressions of the asset picker and hand it out to you for testing. However, there still needs to be some additional improvements until we can actually call it finished. And then again, once the asset picker, once the MVP is finished, we also launch the marketplace officially. Well, and then as you can find that list online and you can read it here from the screen. We still want to update our room drawing, doors and windows and light mechanics this year, but we will do a lot of that as part of our V6 renderer rework, which is definitely going to take until next year. That's a big rework. We're changing the whole rendering procedure onto a completely new render engine. We're reworking the light system. We're finally adding multi-select to our editor. We're revisiting the way that maps are being created. So that's a lot of stuff that needs to be done, because the V6 renderer then also is the system that will then be integrated into the DEIOS application so that it can run directly through the DEIOS application without server connection, basically. Yeah, and through that, Bodhi is looking forward to doing the UI rework, because we're going to do minor UI changes throughout this year. But there is, of course, a big UI rework for the Battlemap editor in the works, because we know that we're very happy with the way that the DEIOS UI looks. So we now need to kind of switch and change the way that the Battlemap UI looks as well. And when we do this, this is the perfect opportunity to actually revisit things and say, okay, could we do that better than we did before?
That was a lot of information.
I'm sorry. Info dump.
Right, there we go. So yes, lots of things there. Definitely worth celebrating what has been achieved thus far. The path tool, without a doubt, has changed fundamentally how you design maps. I think it's been revolutionary in terms of that. All right, and obviously we will be talking about all of these future updates right here on the show, so don't miss that. We're back to our regular scheduling, so we'll be back at the end of every month moving forward. So all right, let's unpack some of this stuff now in terms of the next slide, which is the custom asset library. Now,
yes.
You can see you're laughing already. Let's talk about this custom asset library, because there's a lot in there that I don't think anyone is even aware of. Yes. And yet you guys have been doing all this behind the scenes stuff. So
yes, I think we started in November last year. So back in 2021. I think somewhere in the first quarter, second quarter, we started working on the new content management system that sits behind the marketplace and the content subscription assets that we have in DungeonFog and in DEIOS. And we called it the FogMS, like the fog management system, which is basically the storage, the brain, the distribution software that is running on our servers to manage that artists can upload their assets into the marketplace, that we can upload with Tony together. We can upload our monthly prop packs into the system, and that Keora can upload the DEIOS assets that then will be distributed to the desktop application. And it was quite a big heap to actually release FogMS. So there was, I think, 6 months at least we've been working on that. And once it was finished, it only hosted the things that the artists upload and the things that we upload, but nothing that the users, so you as our community, actually upload for themselves. And the problem behind that was that, so the reason why we did the FogMS was because it allowed us to actually put it into the Amazon service of a CDN network. So it means that whenever you request an asset, you're not requesting it from our German servers, but you're requesting the assets from the nearest server next to you that might be in the northern US, southern US, or east-west US, Europe, Asia. So there are now several different server installations that distribute those assets. However, as a user, if you uploaded assets, you still uploaded them to our German servers. And that was slowing down the editor quite a lot. So in November, December last year, we decided, okay, now that we've finished FogMS and it has been tested, it's time to actually move all the user assets, the custom uploads, as we call them, to the FogMS as well. But by the time that we were ready, which was about 3 weeks ago, we were already sitting at 1.8 million custom uploads that had to be shoveled over into the new service. And that was a lot of work. And that also was a lot of lessons learned, because it's exposed a lot of difficulties that our databases have with suddenly dealing with such a big amount of assets. Some of you, especially if you're using the Patreon integration, or you have uploaded a ton of assets by yourself, you might have already realized or noticed that the editor has a lot of loading time at the beginning. And that is because the way that we handled assets beforehand wasn't really optimal for such big numbers. So we tried 2 weeks ago, we tried our first attempt and we completely failed. We had to roll back and cry and panic. And then this Monday, we tried again. So this time we went into a proper maintenance mode. And we suddenly realized that it takes a lot longer than your calculations and your anticipations actually promised. So it was, I think it was 10 hours of maintenance mode until we finally were where we wanted to be. And when we flipped the switch back on, suddenly the server started crashing. And we were like, what's going on? We've been testing this for 3 weeks in our kind of enclosed test environments, and everything worked absolutely proper. The second we turn it on the live service, our asset server crashed down. So for the past 27 hours, we have been trying to figure out what is happening there. I think we've nailed it. I think we've found everything. It is now smoothly running. However, we are going to do a little social experiment or multi-testing with you guys today later, because I want to, the problem is at the moment, we are kind of certain that we fixed it. But now we need some kind of tested environment where we can actually see and verify that the things that we have done are working, or that we need to follow plan B, which is there are a few things that we believe we can do. So it's better to do this in a controlled environment where everyone's watching, especially everyone from our developers is watching, as suddenly it's getting Thursday, Friday, people are starting to finally quickly do their last maps, and then our service unexpectedly goes down. So that's why I hope that we can do a little test together today, later down the road. And again, as I said, now that this is moved over, custom assets are now being distributed through our CDN. You should see a lot faster response times on uploading assets and getting access to your assets. The whole asset service should be a lot faster now. We reworked our quota calculation a little bit in that regards. Previously, we were counting the file size per asset uploaded, which was always a bit confusing. Now that we have a better way to compress and store things, we actually said, okay, it makes much more sense to just do a file count. When you upload, you have, I said I'm going to write down those numbers. I forgot to do so. I think you have 100 assets as a free user. With an upload size of 5 megabyte max per asset, you have 500 megabytes. So we kind of bumped that quite a lot. it's 10,000, I believe, as a premium user. So you can upload 10,000 assets as a premium user, or 50,000 if you are having a commercial license. So we bumped the numbers, and you can upload a lot more assets. And also, quite important, if you clone maps that have custom assets, those assets do not count against your quota anymore. So we've drastically changed the way that we deal with cloned assets, especially since we hope that the community hub is a success and people will be exchanging maps much more often than before. Okay, so now that this is done, all that's left is, once we're happy with that, we know that the interface for the asset manager is quite shitty, to be honest, and we want to rework that. It's on the list. We don't have it on a specific timetable yet. So once we do the UI rework, once we do the V6 rendering, we will then also address the rework of the asset manager itself so that you can quickly upload and organize your assets. Yep, that's it. Sorry, second info dump.
I mean, I wrote out all of the questions in nice little steps, but you're doing fine. You're working through the whole slide, so that's okay.
I'm sorry.
So, Till, just when it comes to this ominous server crash, what happens if it isn't stable this evening when we do our little social experiment, as you put it? Oh yeah, we throw toys, but
I don't know what else do you do to avoid that. Yeah. Okay, so the worst case, the absolute worst case is that by the end of this week, or depending on the next, let's say 24 to 48 hours, we will, if we see those crashes coming back and we can't pinpoint what exactly is causing those crashes, we will actually, to protect the service for all users, we will have to roll back the asset service, which does affect maps to some extent, because it means if we have to roll back maps that have been saved between the time that the asset service has been updated and the rollback, so maps that have been saved between Monday morning and the day that we roll back will not work with the assets on the map properly. If that is an old map, you can use your history back. We have a map history where you can revert to all the save versions. But if the map was created in the meantime, it might be lost. Now, as you can imagine, that is the ultimate worst case that we're looking at, and we have been working quite thoroughly to actually avoid that, and I'm quite confident that we can avoid it. But that would be like the ultimate ratio where you're like, oh my God, that's the worst thing we need to do. And in between of that, if we realize that there are sometimes crashes, because what the crash means is the server shuts down, you suddenly can't load your map, and then the server restarts, and after 5 minutes, you can press refresh and the map comes back. Now, this is not a state that you want a proper going service to be in, but it's not as bad as the server goes and never comes back. So what we need to do is we need to find out why. Where is it peaking? Where is it crashing? And kind of optimize those areas. And it might be like, I think an acceptable, for everyone acceptable solution would be to actually kind of tie down the amounts of server crashes. Now, if we're talking about the amounts of server crashes since we discovered that last evening, we had 3 crashes. It's not the server's not constantly giving up. It's just still, it's alarming for us as developers. So we had 4 crashes. We had 2 in the evening yesterday, and we had 2 in the morning. And then one of the hot fixes was applied, and since then everything was running smoothly. That again is why I would like to have a little test with you guys together today, to see if we can stress the server to a point where it still breaks. Because apparently in the morning here for us is probably not a time where you guys usually work on maps. So having a little stress test today would actually help us quite a bit.
Well then, when shall we do the stress test? I say now. Why not now?
Well, and now let's go for it. Okay,
Very
everyone
well.
who, even if you don't have a DungeonFog account, well, you don't have to create an account now, but I think most of you have a DungeonFog account, even if it's a free account. All we are asking at the moment is, first of all, I need to write down the time, just to be sure. We have it now, 2026. Log into your DungeonFog account, and all you need to do is open a map. Create a new one, okay, but even better, open a map. So right now, I should be seeing the numbers going up of people. Yes, there you go. Numbers are counting up of people joining the DungeonFog server at the moment, so joining the service and opening the maps. Because the problem hides, we've already figured out that the problem hides in this loading screen. So once you're past that, we're all golden, because you didn't crash the server. So
mine's golden.
Apparently you didn't crash the server.
Yay!
We will see if someone else has problems. We have monitoring systems that are tracking right now how the server is performing. And let me refresh that here. And it's absolutely stable at the moment.
The assets are loading much faster.
Yes, they are. That will even improve even more with the new asset picker once we've released it, because then we have an asynchronous loading for assets. So yeah. Let me check. Let me see. Yeah, I can still see some people joining. Okay. No, that looks fine. Okay, so what we did right now is we wanted to see, because the way that the Amazon service works is that when there's a sudden spike on new requests to the server, the way that the server handles the asset lists sending out to each and every one of you at some point requires the server to kind of scale up. And our guess was that the way that we did those requests and the way that we handed those asset lists to you caused the server to actually run full of memory and performance, and at some point just crashing, giving up and rebooting. And again, the way that we did those funneling of those requests initially was opening, I think, about 3 connections per account per request. And we tried to do that simultaneously, which was actually blowing up immense. Now we did that serialized. And I think that actually solved quite a lot, because I saw that there's still people joining. So we now at 64 users who are simultaneously opening and requesting, pushing stress on the loading screen. And when I compare that to how the server performance is reacting, the server performance is kind of yawning.
Well, there we go.
So I feel like, thank you very much, everyone. I feel like that is a big step forward, and putting a little check mark on the, okay, we've done that. Now we will be monitoring the service for the next couple of weeks to be actually sure that we've caught all the problems there. But it looks quite good. No rollback.
For those of us that might be worried that there may be a rollback, is there going to be any kind of official announcement saying, it's all ready, it's all done, no rollback's going to happen officially, keep going?
No, I don't think so. Not in that particular way. What would be happening is that we say, okay, shit, we need to do a rollback. And then we will do an official announcement and we say, okay, on the day this and that, we will have to roll back. So export your maps, do whatever you can to save those images that were created within this time frame. And our sincere apologies, and we hopefully, I mean, we would definitely find a way to make up for the lost week somehow. But I think we've avoided it.
Fantastic. There you go. Lovely. Now, well done, everybody. We stressed it and nothing happened. And comments saying it loaded fine on mobile. Biggest map went through without a problem. A lot faster, says some people. So, yes, absolutely fantastic. So it's a win all around. Well done to the team for making that one.
Also, again, to Jonas, who was doing the deploy and wrote the whole thing. Obviously, they were losing their mind over the past days, freaking out about what was happening. Calm down. We did it. Everything looks good. Relax.
But you still have to go to work tomorrow. Okay. Right. So big thank you to the community. And speaking of community, he said desperately trying to bring the show back onto script. We're going to talk about the new community hub that has come through. Yes, absolutely. Now, I probably should have practiced this before. No, don't. Well, yes, there we go. There's the community hub slide coming forward. But we've loaded up my community slide page thing, which I have got hidden down here somewhere. So I'm going to go to this screen here so you don't get to see me fumbling around trying to figure out just how to navigate through.
Yeah, for those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, most of you might know the public library that we did. There it is. So over the past, well, I would say this also started in fall last year when we started with the first concepts. We've been watching very closely how people are interacting with maps and how people are sharing their maps and how people are kind of browsing. And we have a vast amount of community created maps online. And I think our public library is not paying the proper tribute to that. We've been also approached by many of you from the community who are sharing maps and who say, well, I would like to know, how do people like my maps? How could they interact with us? Is there a better way to actually show what I've been doing in DungeonFog? And the community hub actually is our approach to that. And it consists of several key elements. One key element is, as we can see, the creator's profile. The second you have a map shared, made public, so the second you set a map public, you are also, how do you say, allowed to create your own profile page. So there's just one requirement. It doesn't make sense to have a profile page if you're not sharing anything, because then there's nothing on your profile page. So if you've shared maps, you can now go and you can find this under the right side menu where your little icon is. I think this is the left side menu. I wanted to have the right side menu. Well, the one above me here. This one. Go, click on it. There is a menu where your little profile picture is. On the top.
Oh no, the pressure of trying to navigate whilst live. There?
Yes, there you go. Click on it. So there you can see is a new button that says My Hub Page. I think it says something like that. Has a big shiny blue new button next to it. And you can reach your hub profile page by clicking on this. And then you get on the page that we're currently seeing from Guy, where you can design or customize your own header. You can upload or you can select your premium or your highlight maps, the ones that you think represent your work best. People can browse your profile to see the latest maps that you've been sharing. And most importantly, when you can scroll down, you can see who is following you and who are you following. So this is a nice way of connecting the community together. And eventually we will also add, it hasn't happened yet, but this will happen over the course of the summer, a way to actually have a little chat in there where you can communicate with the creators. So people can send you a message on your profile page, post a comment on maps, things like that. Pardon me. You can design a little about section, and you can add social media links if you want people to follow you on Twitter or YouTube or wherever. If you're a premium member of DungeonFog, you can also customize your URL. So you can create a vanity URL. And of course, you can see the beautiful badges that you have already won through community events. So all of that is happening on your profile page, and we will expand this in the future. But I think it is a great way to, if you love map making and if you love to show what you're doing, to actually put that out there and share with people what you're creating. And there are still quite a few cool ideas of what we can do with that. But mainly this is your profile page. So that's step number one. Step number two is when you click on a map, you can actually now see a much better preview image of that map. We've changed the way that we calculate the preview images, so they're higher resolution. You can now automatically clone and open that map, so you don't have to clone it into your account, then go to your dashboard and open the map. Just click on it, clone, open, and you're in there. And to the right side, you can again see that we have already started with recommendations, which we build upon with the next couple of updates to the hub, where we can actually give you maps that we think might be a good recommendation for what you're currently looking at. Keep in mind, you should always like a map if you like it. So there's a little red button there where you can place a little heart icon. You can like it. And of course, you can, I don't know, I can't read it. What does that link says?
You can share.
Oh, yeah, and you can share the map with your social medias, with friends. Just show it around if you're happy with it. The last element of the community hub then is in the main menu, and that is the hub dashboard, which we have now placed in addition to the public library, but eventually will replace the public library. So right now you can still use the public library, but eventually we will reach a point where we say, okay, now we're finished, and then the community hub actually replaces this and is your way to go if you want to browse maps.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Very excited for all of this. So first question, when will we have access to this in totality?
The hub is out already, so everyone can create their profile pages. And over the course of the next, I would say, 6-8 weeks, we will hopefully have finished all the features, but it is quite thorough already. So if you have the time, go investigate, play around with it. Let us know, give us feedback if you're missing something or if you think something could work better. But generally speaking, this is for Herbert and Thomas, who both created the hub. This is still something that they are working on and they want to finish hopefully by the end of the summer.
Fantastic. So a quick question or comment more than question from Richard Line. He says, will you be able to create collections of maps?
That is on the list because you can already create collections in your My Map section. Dabbling with things like drag and drop and stuff like that, where you could probably kind of organize stuff. I think what we want to do in the first step is probably say that you can take a folder and make it public, which means that represents a collection in that regard. So yes, it's planned. and it's already, I think, in the works. So there is a way to get there. So this will probably be something within the next, again, 6 to 8 weeks that you will already see there.
Another question from Nicholas Kopp is, how many active creators does DungeonFog have?
I don't know. I don't know the number.
It's like more than 5, though, right?
It's a lot more than 5. That's a good question that I cannot tell you at the moment because I don't know. I know that from our initial call to reserve URLs, we had 75 people responding who said, please reserve this URL for me. So once the hub is live, because again, a vanity URL is gone at some point. If someone else took it, not much to do about it. You can obviously write us a support ticket and say, but that's mine. But there was a way back last week where people could pre-reserve URLs. We've blocked a few where we think like, you shouldn't own that one. And now, since the thing is live, well, go there and save your vanity URL right now.
That's very good advice.
Yeah, so 75 already pre-reserved stuff, which I think is just a brink of the people that, newsletters, you're sending them to thousands, and 75 actually read the newsletter. So I don't, ask me next mapping it out, and I will have the answer to the question.
All right, there we go.
I don't know today.
Next question. These shiny badges look really nice, and I think now they look even nicer that we can display them. Are we going to see more events that get us more badges?
Yes, of course. There are more events planned, and also we have planned to rework those badges because some of them are, I'm not sure if some of them on your page are actually animated, but we have animated badges. So
I have no.
If you go to my account,
the boss has animated badges. Yeah. Let me guess. Best boss 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022.
The team had a lot of fun messing with me there. So there are, but for example, the last Map Battle Madness what is animated. I don't have that one. That actually sits on Lord God's account. Yeah. So yes, there are going to be more badges, and they are going to be animated.
Fantastic. All right, now we are making swift progress in terms of battle maps because we've been on battle maps for quite a while, which is fantastic. I mean, why not? Battle maps is awesome. We need to look at let me just check here, the new asset pack that came out. Now, I have that new asset pack ready and waiting. So let's have a look at it.
Let's have a look at it.
There you go. It's escalators.
It's escalators. Nice one.
Who doesn't want escalators?
Well, maybe you can already guess what this might be. The community over the past, I would say, well, this year, got more. We heard more and more voices saying, when will there be a new modern pack or cyberpunk pack that is actually not fantasy? And we've been listening, and we said, yes, of course, we would love to do something like that. And we checked for what is something that we don't have at the moment. And so we have created this pack, which I think is pretty cool. And I think most of you have already guessed what it is. If not, I think now it is absolutely clear. It is it's called Subway, of course. It has been released already, but I would describe it as dirty, wrecked subway station. Nothing you would see in our beautiful Vienna. So we couldn't.
I was just thinking this was a photocopy, perfect rendition of the New York subway, or
Never been there, don't know. It's definitely not Viennese, because we keep
Certainly
our
not
subways
Japanese
clean.
either, because they don't need a sign saying "Mind the gap." I've never seen a subway that's more perfectly aligned than the Tokyo subway. Anyway, we had some people suggesting that it was a shopping mall. I think you certainly could build a shopping mall with all the
Yes,
modern day assets that you
yes.
have now, especially with those escalators. Are those escalators paths?
Of course. So when we look at
Absolutely.
that, the trains are path, the tracks are path, and single assets. So we released them both as paths as well as single assets. The lines, the yellow lines are paths. The
Lovely.
escalators are paths. The benches are paths, and everything that I just said is always available as a single asset as well. We have quite nice graffiti that you can put everywhere. And uh, and what else? Well, a lot of stuff that you can clutter. Like if you
Vending machines. Yeah.
vending machines, ticket machines. We have. I didn't find a place to put it, but we have those. How do you call those? Those?
Turnstile.
Yes, exactly. Turnpikes. That
Turnpike
allow
turnstile. Yeah.
access. Subway signs. Homeless. Berths where you can clutter that stuff there. So it's a lot of junk food that you can put on the floor.
Yeah, it's looking
So
great.
I think it's looking amazing. I had a lot of fun making the map. I will put the map public, and then you can clone it and find it on my profile page.
With the animated badge.
With the animated badges that I own. Yeah, so that is a new addition to the modern cyberpunk horror set, and I'm quite proud of it. Next up will be another fantasy pack that we've been working on for quite some while. And yeah, let's talk about that in the next Mapping It Out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Always happy to have new fantasy assets. Although, as people were saying, this just calls for zombies. Zombie apocalypse, I think.
We have a lot of, if you look into the modern settings, there's a lot of zombie stuff out there.
Oh, absolutely.
That you
the
can...
swamp's got the reaching hands as well.
Yes.
So,
yeah. But especially in the modern, we have those barbed wires, the burning...
That's right. That's right.
Canisters,
chainsaws and blood and
yes. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do to make this a zombie-infested place.
Absolutely, lovely. All right. So with that, there is a little Easter egg in these maps.
It is.
Should we let people try and figure it out? I'm not going to put that piece of graffiti above your head and point people to the name that's written there and the name that's written underneath the head.
So Tony had a lot of fun again playing with us. So if you pay close attention to the graffiti, each graffiti resembles one team member.
Aha, there you are. So now you have to know the name of the team members to be able to figure out who is who in the graffiti,
yeah.
So we can have them all arrested for vandalism and make the subways a safer place. Right. Now, we always like to have a creator that we talk about, a map creator
yes,
that we talk about.
We have
the
our
Map of the Month creator. And before we reveal who that creator is, how do you become part of the map creator of the
This
month?
is a staff pick. This means you can't really do anything but post maps. And of course, if a community, like if the community likes your maps a lot and they get ranked and ranked and ranked up, they will more and more get our attention. But basically, what this is just our team sitting together once a month, looking at all the cool new stuff that has been released over the course of the month or the course of the past 2 months, to the community library, to the community hub. And we just said, wow, look at that. This is amazing work. I think this person needs to be awarded with the Map of the Month highlight, the community spotlight, we're calling it. And yeah, and this is how we pick people.
And so this month's map of the month, creator of the month, I suppose you could say, is
TheInkubus.
There you go, the Incubus. And so when we're talking about the Incubus's work, there are two places that people can go to find out about it.
Yes.
Where is that?
So first of all, our community spotlight is also always posted as a news announcement on our website. So if you're following our news, or if you just go to our news page, you can also look up all the community spotlights. I think this is a great source to get inspiration if you're looking for maps that you want to do. As you can see, you can clone those maps into your account and you can just use them because they're public maps. Also, it's a great way to see how those maps are made. And just to learn a little bit about the people who are contributing to our public library. And it's kind of a thank you from us to everyone who's contributing. So just keep an eye out. It's once a month. It kind of shifts depending on where's a good point in our 4 weeks cycle to put the news announcement. But every month we post a new member to the community spotlight. And now that the hub has gone live, you can actually also just visit through, I think it's on the top of the page, visit the hub page. And there you go, there you can see nice TheInkubus, nicely done, updated, top banner. By the way, if you don't know how to do that, all you need to do is hover over the top banner. And if it's your account and your profile page, it will show a little upload image with an image size recommendation. And here you can see, an animated asset. The egg is the mimic Easter hunt. Did you see?
I now have to go and find how to steal these badges from people.
Don't worry, there's a lot planned for this year to hand out more badges. So here you can find out everything about the Incubus. I think amazing work and really nice, like with a lot of love for details to put on maps. So I have quite a few of the Incubus maps in my kind of random map encounter folder when I need a forest map or a campfire map or mountain wintry stuff. Then I actually go there and use some of those maps. But also for me, it's always cool to see how are they doing this. Quite often I find things where I'm like, wait, how is that done? And then I'm like, okay, cool, learned a new thing.
Absolutely. I'm just mesmerized by everything that's in there. So wonderful work to Incubus.
Yes, go there, leave a like, follow. You can now follow the Incubus, which means you get all the new maps that are being released by the Incubus will end up on your dashboard, and eventually down the road will actually also notify you if you would like to get a notification that there are new maps released. So this isn't right now. It ends up on your Community Hub dashboard, showing as latest maps from your creators, and there you can see new maps. Great way to browse and keep updated. So go there and follow the Incubus.
There you go. Lovely. That brings us to the end of the battle maps section of tonight's Mapping It Out. Following along, we're going to be talking about Project DEIOS. We're going to be talking about the war in Ukraine and how that has affected things, as well as the new patch, which will be coming out soon.
As in this week. Yes.
As in this week, which is very exciting, especially because of what it allows us to do. So thank you for watching all the way so far on Battle Maps. Thank you for your questions and for your support and for helping us test the battle maps. Like I said, we're going to change gears now as we head on over to Project DEIOS. Are you ready for the music?
I am.
Are you ready for the music? Here we go. No, I'm not ready yet. I've got to get out of this. There we go. Right. Sorry, I could not, for the love of money, remember the F11 key to shut down the previous screen. So we're talking DEIOS here. And big thank you to Till, who earns 50 experience points and no badges for that musical performance of Haha. Now, yes, throat singing. Who knew throat singing from Till? Well, there you are. I did want to once ask you if you knew how to yodel. Do you remember when I asked you if you knew how to yodel?
Yes, I remember.
Absolutely. I still have as yet to get into the Alps and to try and yodel, but I will get there one day. Apparently, I will be alone. Right. So we are talking.
Well, I can join you. We can learn it together.
There you go.
I mean, it has been a form of communications, yodeling.
Yeah.
So you're on one mountain, I'm on the other, and we will send us the yodeling scripts.
There we go. Right, there's a video to watch. Okay, so if you've just joined us, we're talking Project DEIOS and mapping it out. That's where we go behind the scenes and give you all the updates and latest news and insight as to what is happening in the world of Project DEIOS. If you do have a question, please write that question into chat, but put the word question in caps in front of it so that I can see it and then ask it to Till, who is sitting here and who will be talking to us about that.
Yes.
Now, Till, there has been a lot of talk, and people were actually asking in chat as well, in terms of the Russian situation and the Ukrainian situation. Now, you have, or most of the developers are from Russia.
Yes.
And then they had to leave Russia or stay in Russia or decide what was going to go. So what's the situation? Are they
without getting too political? I mean, we can all agree that this is a terrible situation at the moment, and we really, really, really hate what's going on there, and so do our Russian developers. So it's safe to say that none of our team is really happy with what the leadership of Russia is currently doing to the Ukraine. And that actually led to the point where the complete Russian development team said, okay, this is not a country we want to stay in anymore. We want to get out of here. Of course, that meant, especially in March, when the crisis was peaking up and nobody knew what is actually going to happen. Are they turning off bank transfers? Can we send money to our team? Are they going to be drafted? Do they have to probably fight? What is going to happen there? There was a lot of chaos internally for us because we needed to figure out all of those things. I don't know if any of you, me for my part, have never been living in a country that actually declared war on a neighbor. So I can only imagine what that does to you on a mental state. So the way that this happened actually caused us to kind of slow down a little bit and do like people first, product second, where we said, okay, how can we help you? How can we actually try to make sure that you are safe or that you are at least taken care of from a financial standpoint? And they all decided that they are trying to get out of Russia. And I think it was mainly March where we actually tried to figure out the fastest way to get them out there. And then through April, I think kind of reality settled in a little bit, and they realized that they need official documents, especially if they want to go to the EU. Now, the EU obviously doesn't make it very easy for Russians at the moment to join because they're the bad guys. And so we kind of settled in there to a point where we're in the visa application parts here and there. We found ways. Some of them decided not to come to Austria, but to go to different countries within the EU or not EU, where they are feeling safe and secure and where they can continue the work. However, all in all, it meant there was a lot of chaos going on, and it has cost us a little bit of where we wanted to be, just to make sure that they are not feeling pressured from us in a way that we're like, but you need to work now. So yeah, I hope I kind of got lost in my own explanation. Did I answer the question?
Yes, I think you did, as long as they're all okay as we speak.
Yes, they are okay as we speak. Ilya is coming to Austria in July, so we're looking forward to that. And I don't know what Andre is currently doing. I think he said he wanted to go to Portugal. And Nikita is also doing quite nicely. And again, after mid-April, everything was a bit less chaotic and panicky and more structured. And we found a good way back into things. So I would say, given the situation that there is still a war going on and news might still change from day to day, I think we're now in back to a kind of stable situation.
Absolutely. All right. Well, obviously we will hope for the best possible outcome there, and a quick and speedy one too. Yes. Now, let's talk about DEIOS. Let's look at what has happened, what is coming up, and what we can expect. So talk us through this slide,
Till. Still, although we had those issues and we had this whole excitement, I think we've reached a quite important milestone from my perspective. We finished the layer system and we've updated the layer system. We bug fixed it. We've improved it. There's still stuff to do. I'm pretty sure you will find here and there another bug. But generally speaking, I feel like the layers have been solidified. We have finished authentication and login, which is super important because beforehand, the alpha was so rough in its making that we said, well, what can you do with it? So if you're taking the EXE file and you're sharing it with your friends and your families and putting it on wherever, it doesn't really damage the software because it was such a rough diamond. Now it is at a point, and especially because the export is now being finished, it is at a point where you can already create quite good looking maps. It's nowhere near being finished, but it has reached a state where not only us, but also the artists, especially Keora, started to worry a little bit about protecting the intellectual property that's put into this software. So we worked on the authentication and the login, and we've finished it. It's now going to be part of the patch, which means it's going to be like internal tests are green, but now we will see what happens if we hand it out to you. Will authentication still work for everyone? What do we need to fix? But that's done. And as we're going to see today in our demo build, the export is really beautiful and powerful. So now the software is in a state where we want to protect it. Also, now we are with the login and the authentication, we are in a state where we can safely add new assets. And I think that's quite important because we have been hearing you, and a lot of people were asking, like, where are all the other asset packs that we've backed? And the answer is, well, we needed to secure them first before we can hand them out. Now we've secured them. Now we can start handing them out.
Absolutely. So I think we're definitely in a good space. Now, we are when we look at this, when do you think the new patch is going to come out?
The best I can say is by the end of this week. Hopefully, it's going to be tomorrow, but I don't think so, because I know, and we're going to see, that there are still a few hiccups in there that need to be ironed out. But my team has promised me that they have it finished by the end of the week. And worse for wear, because I'm at the UK Games Expo from Thursday to Sunday. It is coming out on Monday, because it might be that my team is like, oh, we don't know how to do announcements and stuff. And also, till you do all the work all the time, please do it again. Then it will be Monday. But they have been instructed to hand it out by the end of this week.
There we go. All right, that's exciting. Very, very, very exciting. Now, if we look here, something that is already in progress is Tectonics 2. It's kind of like the last real bit, really, from Q1. How is Tectonics 2 going?
Okay, Tectonics 2 is now being picked up again since we shifted over to export. And this is especially for laying the groundworks of what to come. I think this is a very important thing that we want to do. Because Tectonics 2 is actually affecting the way that we paint landmasses with color. It is laying a groundwork to what we want to do with rivers. It is laying the groundworks of what we want to do with biomes. So I hope that we will pick up Tectonics fast and quick. However, I must say there is next week there is a meeting on what do we want to do next in terms of to have quick updates, and Tectonics might be pushed back. I don't know this yet. My gut feeling would be yes, we're going to do Tectonics next. We will see. Yeah, and then copy paste is already in the works. So we've started with the clipboard, which means that you can not only copy and paste landmasses or asset groups or whatsoever within the same map, but it is an application clipboard, which means you can copy it to the application clipboard, open a different map, and paste it on that map as well. So if you have a beautiful island where you feel like, I want to use that island on every map that I have, you can copy it over. Or if you say, I want to have a general approach map, and then I want to copy that specific area into a new map and work on the details there, that's doable as well.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Then we can see in Q2 coming up, it's roads and rivers, and then the UI cleanup. So roads, well, let's talk about rivers first. What is going to make rivers exciting? Because at the moment, if I have to make a river in DEIOS, I just use the delete tool and I just erase my landmass.
We can see it back there, where a river was just erased from the thing. Well, so the thing is, that's a drawing tool, right? But most users are not having a drawing tablet, and they're doing it with the mouse, which means that the natural flow of a river is really complicated to do with a mouse. Also, usually a river starts to grow bigger as it reaches the coastline or as it grows inland. Going inland smaller, or the other way, going up it gets smaller, going down it gets bigger. So we want to incorporate ways to make that as part of the drawing experience. However, and that's why I'm saying that Tectonics is so important, because the Tectonics have a kind of a height system implemented, we might even look at rivers to a point where we say, okay, the way that while you draw, or while you're not drawing specifically, you're just moving the mouse in the direction that the river should go, it might pick its path alongside the terrain that the landmass has constructed. So that is something that we want to investigate. What is the best approach? Generally speaking, the best approach is to draw a river that looks realistic without forcing you to up your game with your mouse or buy a drawing tablet, but by having some kind of automation in there that helps you with that. Yeah.
Yeah, commentary is saying tectonics definitely seem to be the almost the paths tool equivalency here, where they really are going to help with things. When it comes to roads, what are we thinking about with roads? Because that's not
yeah. Well, roads, generally speaking, the paths tool is a good comparison to what you want to do with roads. It's you probably don't want to freehand a road, although that kind of looks more natural if we're talking about kart tracks. But you want to put a point and say, from this point to this point to this point to this point, I want the road. And then you probably want to have some curvature to say, okay, the road is winding a little bit. But roads usually don't grow wider or smaller. They transition from a stone road to a cartwheel road or a dirt road. Those are the things that are happening. And this is what you want to do with the drawing tool. But it's a much simpler approach because it doesn't pay attention to the tectonics, because humans usually only pay minor attention to tectonics when they build their roads. They want the fastest way to get somewhere.
Absolutely. Hence the invention of bridges and tunnels and all those kind of wonderful things. Although, yeah. All right. So lots of stuff still happening, but the team are also excited for the next step.
Yes. So one of the outcomes of the, let's call it the excitement, the negative excitement of the past month was that the team actually approached me and said, look, we've been working on the world map editor now for so long. It would be nice if we could get kind of a fresh break to something that is that is something that we want to do. And we said, okay, there are a few critical things, and again, that's something that we will decide on next week, that we want to finish to make sure that world map editing is at its best in its rough state, in its early state. But the team is super excited. I've seen that for the past couple of weeks, that there are concepts being tossed around and technologies being compared. They're super excited to finally get a first go at the city map making. And they said, well, how about we start with that in late summer, early fall, and do an iteration of city map making before we then revisit world map making and do final touches to it. And I said, yes, I'm totally happy with that, as long as we have the core, the essentials in there, which I think is roads and rivers. That has to be in there, which again means tectonics has to be moved forward to actually lay the groundworks for roads and rivers. So that's what's going on here. And we will, next time we have a mapping it out, we will probably already have the details dished out on how we're going to progress there. So we can then talk about that. But it means that city maps are at the brink of being started.
Very exciting. Very, very exciting. Question from chat. Are the biomes, have they been worked out conceptually yet? Because obviously now it looks like they're going to be kind of put on the back burner for a little bit whilst we do cities.
Yes. The biomes, so again, with the tectonic system, we can identify different height areas or different terrain areas on a landmass, which already kind of puts us in a place where we can say, well, this is a highland, or this is a forest area, or this is mountain area. So that kind of already creates the, let's call it the space for where we want to put a biome. We had last year, we had an early prototype draft for doing biomes that then just got pushed back, and we said, let's do other things first. Excuse me. But there is a technical concept for the biomes that we've already tested, and there is the conceptual concept the conceptual concept of the concept, where we know what we want to do with it. It's just, it needs to be done at some point. And if my developers, if my team says, please let us do something with city maps or city map generation, that is cool, that kind of brings fresh air to the development team, then me personally, I'm more than willing to push that back a little bit to say, okay, let's do city maps.
Makes sense. Makes absolute sense. Another question here is, with city maps starting later in summer, is the Battlemap editor integration still planned for the end of the year? Well, we learned that Battlemaps is going to go to version 6 first, though.
Yes. So the thing is that for us to integrate the Battlemap editor into the application, it has to go version 6. Otherwise, it can't run within the application. However, now that once Andy has finished the asset picker, the new asset picker, he's actually starting to work on version 6. He has done bits and pieces already. So parts of the paths tool are already kind of written in a way that they work with or for version 6. So he will then shift over, which also means that for the Battlemap editor, after the picker, it's going to be a lot less feature updates for the rest of the year, because we are focusing on pushing the V6 renderer as far as we can get, because our hopes is that we can have it finished by the end of the year. Now we will see how far we actually get there, but the V6 renderer needs to be done first, and then we can integrate it into the Battlemap, into the DEIOS application.
DEIOS. Absolutely. Now, leading us actually into our next point is a question from chat. How much work has Kaora done with the icons that were promised during the Kickstarter? Well, that's talking about assets to a large degree as well. And there is some news there.
Well, yes, of course. So, what? We have news? Tell me.
Surprise! Yes.
Yes. So, Kaora has done quite some good progress on that. And again, as I said before we don't have secured the software from an authentication and protection standpoint, we don't want to hand them out. However, we have finished our works on that. Also, we have finished our works on the distribution service that pushes those packs that you have backed to your application based on your backer status or pre-order status. We're now done with that, which means that starting with this patch, it's not going to be this patch yet. We have this week. We have a few. There were a few problems with the way that the assets worked in the patch. We said, okay, we want to take a step back and rework some of them first. But starting with this patch, we have the means to push new packs to you through our auto updater. And that means that over the course of the summer and into fall and the year, we will actually start distributing them to you. And I think that it might be nice to actually have Kaora in one of our talks here in the near future, so that he can show you where he's actually at, because he's quite far, I believe.
Absolutely, and that answers somebody else's question there. So another question: if you own DEIOS, will you get a premium account of DungeonFog Battlemap editor with the integration, or will it be a free account?
It will be a free account. So when you have, so again, the DEIOS application is the framework that provides the tools to draw maps. The assets are, if you have been backing the Kickstarter campaign, you basically supported our idea to create that software, and in return, we're giving you access to all the assets that Kaora has created. But the DEIOS application per se is the framework, is the software that offers all the tools to do stuff, and you can import your custom own assets, or you can purchase them in the marketplace, or whatever you want to do with that. All the assets that are in the Battlemap editor right now are part of the content subscription. And the content subscription will prevail through DEIOS being released. So there will be a content subscription that kind of encompasses all the monthly updates that we push to the asset store from our side. And that means that when you have a subscription, you can have a DEIOS subscription, for example. And when you have that, we're calling that the content subscription. Then you're getting access to all those assets and also all the software updates that we're then pushing to DEIOS as well. If you prefer to be like no subscription for me, then the basic application comes, of course, with a basic asset pack for each area. So you will have world map assets as a basic pack, and you will have city map assets as a basic pack. And as we have in the online Battlemap editor, you have a base pack of free assets. And I can already say we have a few ideas on how we're going to change that in a way that you don't get those packs kind of dictated from us, but you can probably pick one of the packs as your free pack. We say, okay, I want to have a free pack and I want this to be, because I don't do fantasy. I want to do cyberpunk. So I would like to have one of the cyberpunk packs as my free pack. That's coming. Those are changes for next year that we are already kind of looking at. And if you want to have more assets, you can then use the Patreon integration to follow Patreon artists who release asset packs, or you can purchase them in the marketplace. So the content subscription is just one option that you have to actually get all the content into the application to create maps with tons and tons of assets.
There you go. And now you know. All right. Thanks for that. Thank you for the questions, chat. Remember, if you have more questions, keep them coming. We are happy to answer them. Well, Till's happy to answer them, and I'm happy to ask them. So we're all happy. Okay. Now, we have a demo of the current release coming up for you. So to do that, we're going to play some more music while we bring up the software, hopefully. And stand by for some more throat singing by the performer currently known as Just Till. Oh my goodness. Ah, we have a giant Till. Sorry, I was meant to go to that screen. Who knew that that was going to happen? Well, now we know. Right, so here you can see the login screen of DEIOS.
Isn't it sexy? Look how the animated world is turning.
Absolutely. And for all of those of you currently copying down the password and the Access account, I promise you they won't be working before the stream is over.
Yeah, that is actually one of the things why we need to do so, because that freaking password field is playing with us. You might imagine, you might think that hiding the password is a super simple thing, but it has messed up about 4 test builds now, because something is not working in there, and we still need to figure out what. And while we said, well, how important is it? I think it is important to protect the password. Because if you're streaming your map making, you don't want everyone to see your credentials. So we've set up fake credentials today so that it works, that we can show it. But trust me, I will kill this account the second that this stream is over.
So handy hint, when doing a live stream, make sure to log into your account before you start streaming. Okay, let's go in. And there we can see some of the maps and things. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're talking about the new features. There's nothing new in the screen, is there?
Well, it is behind you, like in the back of your chair. Yeah, there you go. That's all. You can see that you're logged in and you can actually log out again. That's all it is. So nothing more that's new on this screen, apart from we have introduced toast messages here. So when you create a map, when you delete the map, when you if you right-click a map, you can actually now, I think that's not new, it was new for me today, you can now visit the saving place. So you can go to the file directory where the map is saved. If you're looking for where is that map save file, and you can, of course, delete the map, and you get toast messages that kind of reflect what you're doing with the software here. But I think that's it for the dashboard. So go, go, go. Let's go into.
Right. Loads so quickly. I love it. Right. So where do we start?
Well, zoom in a little bit if you like. This is a map that you did.
That's correct. Yes.
And it is a beautiful map, by the way. So we already know about the layer system. We have been looking at the layer system, if I remember correctly, when you were visiting me in Vienna.
That's right.
And so you all know about that. By the way, over the course of the summer and fall, we are now at a point where it actually makes sense to start tutorials. So we are going to think about how to approach that in the near future. Because right now, the only way to learn the software is try it or watch all our mapping it out streams. And we're aware of that. So there will be detailed tutorials on how to use all those tools coming up in the near future. We want to make sure that tools don't, or UI doesn't completely change before and forces us to reshoot everything. Okay, so right now at the moment, this is going to change eventually when we do the UI change, because we're preparing a UI work over at the moment. The export is the new tool, and it sits in the toolbar. It might move into menu export later down the road, but right now it sits at the toolbar, and it is an export tool, which means that when you click on it, you will actually get this screen here, which is the frame where you can, by moving around and zooming in or zooming out, you can actually define the area that you want to export. You can use, and I think that is quite clever, you can use your organized regions to hide and show things that you want to show. So for example, I think, Guy, you've prepared something where we say, okay, that's what right. If the players haven't discovered those areas yet, but they want to have a regional map of the general vicinity, but they don't know that those cigarettes are sitting there. So using those regions is quite an easy way to actually toggle the visibility in details. But there's also a second option we're going to look at in a minute, how you can quickly toggle on and off things for the export as well. So when it comes to the export, the right side menu then offers all the options that I hope you crave for and you need, which is, I can't read it, you have to read it. I think this is the image format, right?
Your file type, PNG, yes. JPEG, or BMP.
Yeah. So for now, please note that this is what we're doing for now. I know that there has been a wish list of formats that use GIS systems, and this is on the list of things to do, but for now we said let's go with image formats, which means JPEG, PNG, and BMP are the options that you have available at the moment. Okay?
Absolutely. And just remember, the implications are the file sizes get bigger.
Yes, exactly. So JPEG is the smallest file size. PNG has, I think, one of the best compressions. So the way that artifacts are rendered is much better in PNG than in JPEG. And honestly, I can't remember when I have used BMP the last time. I have no idea.
Well, they are the oldest, but sometimes that's the best. Anyway, we move on to image settings.
Yes, image settings now is getting more interesting, because here we are asking you, or you can ask yourself, what do I want to do with that map? Do I want to export it for screen because I want to have it in my VTT, or I just want to put it into a digital PDF that is never going to be printed? So I have the option to export it as a screen image or print, which obviously, as the name says, is, okay, I want to print that map somehow. Then you can change the orientation of the frame. And you can, of course, change the aspect ratio of the frame depending on what format you picked. So this selection is dependent on whether or not you went for screen or for print. And I think you will find what you need for. The only thing that's not in there at the moment is that you can define a custom aspect ratio. But that is something that is much easier to do with the new UI workover that we're going to do. So that will come later. And
then there's your DPI.
Yes. So if you go print, you have DPI. And if you go screen, you have the K, like 2K, 4K, 180p, depending on what you want to do. So if you would go for, I think, the biggest thing that you can do, let's do the biggest thing, is an A0. DIN A0 is a European or standardized ISO format for posters like that. That's the big posters, which requires you, if you want to have a big poster of your map printed, at least a 300 DPI. So when you click on export, the software is now trying to render the map. First of all, of course, it's asking you, where do you want to save that? So you can, it is recommending the export folder of your documents. So in Documents DEIOS, we have created an export folder, and all your maps would by default end up here.
I'm sorry. I'm busy changing the directory, thinking no one can see my directory structure, which is terrible. So let me move that over here. And we'll call this How Not to Do It.
How Not to Do It. A perfect name for a map. _final_2_now.
Definitely. Final.
So we have, because it can take some time to actually render the map in such a resolution, we have introduced a little loading screen. We're going to change it up. For now, we just used the regular loading. And now I'm hiding it. There is a post message that says done map is saved. So why don't we take a look at the image that came out of here? And I think, yeah, you have Photoshop. So perfect. So let's have a look at how this looks in Photoshop.
So here's an example of file size straight away.
Yeah.
We did a test JPEG earlier of the same area, and that was 45 megs, and the PNG is 74 megabytes in size. Okay.
And now it's loading, because now actually you could stress Photoshop a little bit. Oh, wow. Broken. Is it Photoshop or is it the image? I can't tell from here. Assuming it, no, it's the image.
We're in Photoshop at the moment, so it looks like that's how the image has been exported. But that's why previously we baked this as a JPEG, so we can give you this working demo.
But that's an interesting, okay, just taking notes here.
Sure. Yeah, there we go. That's an interesting artifact that has happened. So this is the JPEG.
So this is the JPEG, right? And you're hiding it, but we are at what, 8% zoom?
8.3% in terms of zoom. So let's zoom in and zoom in and zoom in. Now, the reason why we're using Photoshop, by the way, is simply because it is a very good piece of software in terms of showing you resolution and allowing us to control stuff.
Exactly.
But of course,
we're also using Photoshop to just double, triple check what did the export do, how is the resolution, how are things looking, and get some meta info from it. You don't have to have Photoshop. You can use any free software to actually work with it. Could you go to image size so that we see in pixels how big is that image?
So the current image size is 14,000 pixels by 9,000 pixels.
Yeah.
And
So that actually is print resolution for an A0 300 dpi document, and you would see no artifacts in terms of scaling sharpness or how do you call, what's the opposite of a sharpness? It's blurriness. There you go, scaling blurriness. And
aliasing and all of those kinds of things.
Yeah, it's quite decent as an export, I believe.
Absolutely. This is more than sufficient. We actually exported some of these maps for use in my book that's busy being printed as we speak, and they don't accept anything that isn't a print standard, and they were quite happy with these maps at these scales. So there is a question saying, are we testing in other programs as well, such as GIMP or Affinity? It's not so much of a test as just using the software to
yeah, that's just
counts.
using the software. That's just opening the map. So because Photoshop is, and again, I come from a graphic design background, so Photoshop is industry standard, or has been industry standard before Affinity was introduced. It's still one of the biggest players, which means that it's the best way to investigate image quality from our perspective. But again, Affinity is a valid option. GIMP is a valid option. It's from our side, it's just verifying that the export image has the same quality. So Guy, you remember we had a problem where I was testing a few maps with Guy where we discovered that the text is actually blurry on the export, and we needed to figure out why that is happening. So that's the only reason why we need a graphic, like an image processing graphic software to look at those images. We could do the same thing with the Windows Explorer preview image as well.
Correct. Something that we did not cover on export, which I think is really, really useful, is under map settings.
Yes, exactly.
Hide things.
Yes. So for the map settings, we said, okay, let's provide, and actually here again, I'm more than happy to follow your input. This is kind of a short list of things that we expect most people want to quickly hide when exporting. That is props. That is, so you probably just want a regional map without any props on it. That is more like a geographical impression of the map itself. You might want to hide labels on the maps just quickly without using the sidebar. Sorry, the sidebar. Where's my arm? I can't do it. Forget it. No, that way. This sidebar.
The one up there.
Yes.
Up
thank
there.
you. We're both failing this. Without using this, quickly hide props, quickly hide text, or of course, quickly hide the grid. So those three options we've put there. But if you can come up with great ideas what we can put there as well, please let us know. Come to our Discord, share the ideas in our Battlemap, world map discussion channels in Discord, or use the feedback button up there in the top corner of the application to actually give us feedback and submit ideas.
Right. Something else that's important to bear in mind is that the organize layers still work while you're in the export mode. So if you have linked things together, you can still hide them without having to use these settings as well.
Exactly.
So if, for example, here you've got stuff you don't want to show to the players or to whomever, you simply hide those, and then you can export your map, and then you can bring them back, export your map again, so you have the version that is accurate and your players have a version that they have still to discover, which I think is really, really exciting. Is it planned to be able to include the distance legend in the export?
Yes, it
Same
is.
thing I asked. I was like, oh, I'll just zoom down to catch it.
Yeah, no, you will never
I
catch it.
can't get it.
Okay, so I think it was already last year when Kiora approached me and said, well, you know what? I don't really like the way that the scale looks. Because it's not fantasy. It's very techy. Can we do different scales? And I said, yes, of course. This scale is a reference for us creators to actually have something to look at while we create landmasses or while we place distances between cities. So this is kind of an internal scale for us. However, when you want to export a map, you want to place the scale on the map. So Kiora and I will be working on different scales in terms of how do they look. And in the export, you will get an option to activate or pick from those, a little bit like the prop library, where you pick from the different scales and then you position it. Same with compass needles and stuff like that. So this is all planned for the export window and will be coming. Yes.
There we are. There we are. Till, I'm not sure there's anything else left for us to showcase on this, just that we're all very excited for it to come out.
Do I need to go already?
Well, unless there's something else that we've missed, I've got to the end of my script.
That's perfect.
So there we go. Till, what are your final thoughts for the merry month of May? And I say that with all of the irony that I possibly could, because we have had nothing but torrential rain for the last 3 days here in the merry month of May in England. So what are your thoughts for May? Has it been a good month?
Okay, yes. Well, yes, it has been a good month. Honestly, I haven't seen daylight since Monday morning because I've been here working on fixing and helping to fix the patch that just came to DungeonFog, so I can't really tell you something about the weather here at the moment. I'm very much looking forward to visit and see you at the UK Games Expo. I think it was quite a great month in terms of, again, the export. The second you have your hands on it, you will see that it is amazing. It is actually bringing this software to a point where it makes sense to have all of that. Also, DungeonFog, I think a lot of good stuff has happened there. I'm very happy with May. I'm super surprised that it's already over. We're in the last day of it. It's only a few hours before we're in June. I was like, what? Yeah, no, I'm quite happy.
There you go. There you go. And so from us, all that we need to say is that, once again, okay, yes, Till?
Sorry, two things. First of all, I wanted to say, now that the export is being released to you, make sure that you export and save your maps as images, because with one of, I don't know when, we do early announcements, of course, but we know that there is for the alpha, probably in late summer or fall, there is a point where we need to wipe maps or deprecate them, which means that it is, again, I said from day one of our alpha approach, I said it's an alpha, which means that we might reach the point where we have to do it. We know that at least for the assets, we don't know about the landmasses, but at least for the assets, there will be one wipe. We have to. It's unavoidable from a technical perspective to actually move forward. So please export your maps, save them. And this one and second one for the Battlemap editor. Reminder, in summer, we are going to deprecate version 3, which means if you still have version 3 maps, you can auto-convert them. You can manually convert them now to version 5 maps, or you just ignore that, and our auto-converter will turn them into version 5 maps, but we can't guarantee that this conversion doesn't change the look of the map a little bit. So if you want to be super sure about how it looks, convert it manually and readjust it as you like, as you need, or just let it be. But there will be a point where every map is opened in version 5 and not so much in version 3. And I think we are really close to that point. So keep an eye out for announcements in that regards in June, because I think we're going to do, by the end of June, we're going to do the version 3 deprecation for the Battlemap editor. And now I'm done. Sorry.
I'm not sure I believe you, but I will take you for your word.
By the way, no.
Very last few little questions. With authentication being added, will we see Fonticon and Symbolicon fully integrated soon?
You will see it integrated soon. I don't know, because we still have it on our to-do list for the Battlemap editor as well. But it is, again, all I can say, it is on, we have it on our list. I can see it there sitting. We just need to pick it eventually from the task bucket and put it on someone's development table. If you want that to be pushed, be vocal about it, because we try to listen to what the community feeds back to us. And if you feel like that is something that you're really missing and that you want to see earlier, then just come to our Discord, talk to us, say, I really want this. And it might help just kind of incentivizing our developers to pick that task earlier or to prioritize it higher than I would prioritize it then.
There you are. And another question, when will this version be made available? Well, we're hoping by the end of this week or early next week.
Yeah, no, again, I'm still quite confident that we can hand it to you somewhere between tomorrow and Friday. Worse for wear, it's going to be Monday.
Absolutely. And then the last question, I think this is more of a technical thing. On what platform are these maps being shown again? Well, this is the DEIOS interface itself, and we were using Adobe Photoshop just to zoom in on the maps.
Yeah, and I think you are working on a Windows.
And I'm on Windows.
Operating system.
But there we go. All right, so now I can say... Yes, I can.
Happy map making.
And he got there first, so I couldn't even get to say it. Anyway, from me and from Till and from the rest of the DungeonFog team, a massive thank you to our moderators who were in chat, and to all of you for asking your wonderful questions and keeping us company here as we went through this super long edition of Mapping It Out. We will be back at the end of June.
I hope you're happy.
We'll be back at the end of June for another Mapping It Out, when we'll bring you all the latest updates on the Battlemap editor and on Project DEIOS. Until then, as Till has already said, I wish you and yours the very happiest of map making. Goodbye.
Bye.